You're losing 20% of your bones and don't even know it. If you're a woman over 40, here's a statistic that should stop you mid-scroll. 1 in 2 women over 50 will break a bone because of osteoporosis. Not might, will. And the scariest part? There's zero pain. But here's what almost nobody tells you: there's a 5-year window in your life where you have the most power to change this. And if you're in your 40s or early 50s, you might be in it right now. So why does this happen so suddenly? It comes down to one hormone: estrogen. Estrogen acts like a brake pedal on the cells that break down old bone. When estrogen drops sharply during menopause, that brake pedal gets released, and bone breakdown suddenly outpaces bone rebuilding. The result, in just the first 5 to 7 years after menopause, women can lose up to 20% of their bone density. That's the steepest bone loss of your entire life. Steeper than anything that happens in your 70s or 80s. Let's break this down by decade. In your 30s and 40s before menopause, you're losing bone at a slow, steady rate, about 0.3% a year. Totally normal aging. Then perimenopause hits, usually a couple years before your final period, and that rate jumps to 1 to 2% a year. But here's the number that matters most: in the first 5 years after menopause, that rate can spike to 2 to 3% per year. That's the red zone. That's where most of the lifetime damage happens. After that first 5-year window, things slow back down to 0.5% to 1% a year, manageable. But the damage from that critical window is already locked in. So if there's one takeaway from this video, it's this: the years right around menopause are not just one more life stage for your bones. They're the most important 5 years of your entire skeletal life. Quick but crucial concept: your bones reach their maximum strength, what's called peak bone mass, around age 30. After that, you can't really build more bone overall. You can only protect what you've got, or slow how fast you lose it. Think of it like a savings account. Age 30 is when your account balance was at its highest. Every year after that, you're either making small withdrawals or, with the right strategy, keeping those withdrawals as small as humanly possible during the biggest spending years. Now, some risk factors for bone loss you can't change: family history, body frame size, early menopause, ethnicity. Those are just part of your starting hand. But here's the good news: a huge chunk of your risk is actually in your control. Low calcium and vitamin D intake, lack of weight-bearing exercise, smoking, heavy alcohol use, too much caffeine without enough calcium to balance it. Look at that second list again. Every single one of those is something you can start changing literally today. And that's exactly what the rest of this video is about. Okay, so we know when the danger window is, and why it happens. Now let's talk about what actually works. And I want to bust one myth right away: it's not just about calcium. If you've ever just popped a calcium supplement and called it a day, I need you to keep watching, because that's actually one of the most common, and most incomplete, approaches out there. Here's the analogy that changes everything: calcium without its support team is like delivering bricks to a construction site, with no crane, no cement, and no blueprint. The bricks just sit there. Let's meet the full crew. Number 1. Calcium, the raw material. 99% of your body's calcium is in your bones and teeth. Target: 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day. But, and this is key, your body can only absorb about 500 milligrams at once. So split it across meals, don't dump it all in one supplement. Number 2. Vitamin D3. Think of this as the gatekeeper. Without enough vitamin D, your gut absorbs only 10 to 15% of the calcium you eat. With enough vitamin D, that jumps to 30 to 40%. That's basically doubling your calcium's effectiveness for free. Most adults are deficient. Get your blood level checked. Number 3, and this one almost nobody talks about: vitamin K2. If vitamin D is the gatekeeper that lets calcium in, K2 is the traffic director that tells calcium where to go, specifically into your bones and away from your arteries. Without K2, some of that calcium you're absorbing might not end up where you want it. Number 4, magnesium. 60% of your body's magnesium is literally stored inside your bones, as part of the bone structure itself. It's also required for your body to activate vitamin D. Most people don't get enough. Number 5, protein. Here's a myth buster: for years, people worried protein would leach calcium from bones. The opposite is true. About half of your bone's volume is actually protein. It's the scaffolding that calcium attaches to. Higher protein intake is linked to better bone density, not worse. Let's make this practical. Where do you actually get this stuff? For calcium, don't just think dairy. Sardines with the bones in, calcium-said tofu, plain yogurt, and fortified plant milks are all excellent. And here's a surprising one: spinach is high in calcium on paper, but it's also high in oxalates, which block most of that calcium from being absorbed. Kale and bok choy are much better plant-based choices. For vitamin K2, hard cheeses like Gouda or Edam, egg yolks, and if you're adventurous, fermented soybeans called natto. For magnesium, pumpkin seeds, almonds, dark chocolate. And for protein, just make sure you're getting a solid 25 to 30 grams at breakfast specifically. That's the meal where most people fall short. Here's something critical: you could eat the perfect diet, and your bones still won't get stronger. Because bone only builds in response to mechanical stress. No load, no signal, no improvement. So you need 3 types of movement. Type 1, high-impact activity. Jumping, running, stair climbing. The impact of your foot hitting the ground sends a direct signal to your bone-building cells. Even short bursts, 10 to 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, make a measurable difference. Type 2, resistance training. This is huge. There's a landmark study called the LIFTMOR trial, Where postmenopausal women with low bone density did high-intensity resistance training and didn't just slow their bone loss, they actually increased their bone density. 2 to 3 sessions a week, full body. Type 3, balance and stability work. Think Tai Chi, yoga, single leg balance exercises. This doesn't directly build bone, but it does something just as important. It prevents the falls that cause most fractures in the first place. Strong bones don't matter much if you fall and break one anyway. Okay, I know that's a lot. So let's simplify it into 6 things you can start this month. 1. Get a vitamin D blood test if you haven't in the past year. This one number determines how much of everything else actually works. 2. Add 1 vitamin K2 food to your weekly rotation. A slice of Gouda a few times a week is an easy start. 3. If you're not doing any resistance training, add 2 sessions a week. Bodyweight squats and resistance bands count. 4. Hit 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast specifically. 5. If you're in perimenopause or early menopause, ask your doctor about a baseline bone density scan called a DEXA scan, so you have a number to track. And 6. Add 10 minutes of impact activity to your day. Stair climbing, brisk walking with some light jogging mixed in, even jumping jacks. None of these require a gym membership, an expensive supplement haul, or hours of your day, but done consistently during this specific window of your life, they have an outsized effect on the next 30 years. Here's the bottom line. The bone density you'll have at 70 is largely decided by what you do in the decades surrounding menopause, not your 70s, not your 60s. Now, if this video helped you understand something you didn't know 15 minutes ago, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this information reach more women who need to hear it. And if you want the full deep dive including the complete food list, exact serving sizes, and the specific resistance exercises from that LIFTMOR study, I've written it all out in a full article, linked right below. Subscribe if you want more of this science-backed, no fear-mongering health content for women in their 40s and 50s. Next up, I'm covering gut health and immunity in midlife, because it turns out your gut and your bones are more connected than you'd think. See you in the next one.